This week's program. The Dungeon Delver draws from the Well of Dumbass. Wizard goes boom, goes boneheaded. Serious DM and Alchemic Raker make serious missteps. And the bros bomb out over Shadowdark. Again. Welcome, all you digital spiders on the World Wide Web, to Driving and Dragons. I'm Daniel, and you have found your way to my weekly therapy session where I shout into the void about the most idiotic things I saw on TTRPG social media this week. That's right, it's Monday, and this is Intelligence as a Dump Stat. Before we feel the sweet catharsis of our palms slamming into our foreheads, let's take care of the housekeeping. I have a long-form, nearly 2-hour interview with Richard Littles over at Gorgon's Grimoires about his new Damsels Adventures in Dragons games going up tomorrow. If you are a fan of 2nd edition AD&D, this is the OSR game that you have been waiting for. It is basically 2E with a few quality of life improvements and everything laid out better in a shiny new high-quality hardback printing. While you are here, like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, leave a comment below giving your thoughts on the week's idiocy. Because the best part of running a YouTube channel is the conversation that takes place in the comment section. Finally, don't forget to check out my Patreon. You get to have your voice heard on channel content as a free member, and paid members ranging from the $5 Quick Lube level up to the $20 Custom Shop level not only get an automatic entry to win a car, but get a say in what we do to fix that car up, and they show their much appreciated support for what I do here on the channel. So that's enough with the ad reads for my own product. Let's get stupid. Today we kick things off with Bill the Dungeon Delver. Now Bill is a pretty great guy. His live streams about 1st edition AD&D and gaming in general are good stuff, and let's face it, he is probably the foremost authority on 1st edition with an almost encyclopedic knowledge of the system and its content. But as I am wont to say at times, even Stevie Ray Vaughan missed a note here and there. Albert Einstein thought that black holes were a physical impossibility and that only existed in the math, and I'm sure Tolkien misspelled a word or two. Well, that last one is definitely false, but you get the point. Old Bill certainly had an off day when he leveled this gem of an opinion. Quote, I don't like Ravenloft. I don't. I never thought it worked in a D&D context. It's fine for a lower A-, at least I think he's saying A-, it says -A, adventure. It'd be suitable for, say, a medieval-based chill or even Call of Cthulhu game. But for AD&D, it requires too many fixes to the 1A AD&D to make it work. Well, this is too dangerous. A word of recall out of Ravenloft. Oh, you can't. There's powerful magic stopping you. Well, let's walk out of the mists and, something in the mist stops you. You turn around and go back. I don't like railroad adventures anyway, so it's a lot of that. It just seems like a lot of contrivances to make a 1930s or 40s Dracula scenario work in AD&D. Still, gorgeous maps, unquote. So the only part of this that isn't crap is the I never liked it part. We're all entitled to an opinion. But opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, and this one stinks. To call Ravenloft an A- adventure is just claptrap on its face. It's well written, beautifully designed, well-paced, balanced for the levels it's designed for, and succeeds wonderfully at achieving the atmosphere and feel that it aims for. Even down to the point that the card game with the Vistani allows for replayability that still keeps the fear of the unknown alive, along with the random movements of the extremely deadly Strahd, who is nigh unbeatable until the players find certain things in the adventure. All that add up to that great gothic horror feel. Then we get to Bill making a mistake that is becoming an all too common thing on this series. Calling something railroading when it simply limits his character's abilities in some way. Being magically trapped in the area is just that. It's a trap. The second your character decided to read that letter and travel to the village, they use their agency to trigger the trap. It's no different than a pit trap with greased sides and an anti-magic field at the bottom. You decided to walk over it. You triggered the trap, and the baddies thought out far enough ahead to make sure that you couldn't just teleport out of it. That isn't a railroad. That's just a character decision that limited future options. And butthurt that a player can't sabotage the adventure with a single spell is not productive here. Are we suddenly going to cry railroad every time a castle drawbridge goes up behind us now? This is almost to the level of the orc hit me with an axe and I didn't want to get hit, so you violated my player agency nonsense. Bill, next time, delve a bit deeper into some common sense before hitting the post button. Another friend of the channel, one featured on my 10 channels you need to subscribe to list, Wizard Goes Boom, finds himself featured on yet another video this week. From the most recommended to the most mocked, how the mighty have fallen. Wizard gave us this bit of brilliance. Quote, can we agree that some TTRPGs are overpresented? Or am I in the minority? I don't want to pay for filler text and filler art of hundreds of pages. I want an RPG to get to the point and give me charts, tables, calculations. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just give me the meat, unquote. Well, Wizard, you got one thing right. You are in the minority. The simple fact is that nobody, and I mean nobody, ever buys a TTRPG purely for the mechanics. Settings sell books, plain and simple. Art and lore are what build that atmosphere and settings. Also, other than the exact verbiage and form, all that meat is not protectable IP. That filler is the only thing that makes your game yours. 99% of new games aren't even new. They're just tweaked versions of existing games that have been modified to accentuate certain mechanics or playstyles. And I'd go so far as to say that 95% or more of what is on the market is just rehashes of D20. So yeah, Wizard's brain went boom here. Good Money says that if he got what he wanted, he would quickly realize that it felt incomplete and like he got ripped off. I mean, let's face it, guys. Condor DM kind of punched that out. Clowndor has a plain text PDF that he's trying to sell, and the better part of the first half of it is nothing but him explaining mechanics. No pictures, no tables, no nothing, just straight mechanics. No filler, as it's called, at least until you get down to his Skullhorn setting, which is pretty bare bones. I mean, is that what you want? Just a text wall PDF with nothing special about it? And another thing here is you got to remember, art is extremely expensive for these games. Nobody is shelling out for custom art just to use as filler. And a lot of times your publication cost and your printing cost is also based on page count. So nobody is just putting profit into the shredder just so they can have extra pages. That's just, they're there for a reason, because that's what people buy, and that's what pretty much all of us want. And honestly, I think that Wizard Goes Boom would feel the same way if he got what he's asking for here. The long and short of it is there's some people who that's all their book is filler. And that's really just the opposite side of the problem that kind of needs to go away. Well, the appetizers are done. It's time for Chef Bro SR to serve up a can of lukewarm opinions for the main course. We start off with Serious DM and Alchemic Raker playing off of each other. Raker posted about how modern play fills the time between battles with DM fiat and adventure paths, and Sirius responded by stating that if you can do anything in a TTRPG, why is it that the only part of modern D&D with robust procedures is small party combat? How can we expect it to support a fuller range of fantasy, like kingdom building, war, and exploration, without equally robust systems? Well, first off, no version of D&D has ever had anything that remotely resembles a robust system for any kind of social interactions. 3.5 came the closest with the interactions between opposing non-combat skill rolls, but even that was largely dependent on DM rulings. As far as kingdom building and war, there's a reason a lot of that was thrown out. It doesn't fit what players wanted, and it bordered on a totally different style of gaming. Even if that is what you want, D&D is far from the most complete or efficient system for it. Setting all that aside, it's almost like the Bro SR guys don't even read fantasy. Not Appendix N, not Ballantine Books era, not 80s peak, not modern, and of course nobody should be reading the postmodern drivel with titles in the form of A Feast of Morons and Idiots. If the title is A Blank of Blank and Blank, high chances are it should be called An Alliance of Paper Shredder and Power Button, but I digress. Fantasy stories certainly center around wars and kingdoms, but the focus is on small groups of heroes. Small groups doing things to influence their world, not standing on the front lines marching in formation to execute brilliant tactics on the battlefield. It's not to say that those things never appear, they do, but you read Lord of the Rings for the story. You don't read Lord of the Rings for the story of Aragorn's brilliant flanking maneuver or how he restructured tax policy to rebuild Osgiliath after the war. Most of the large-scale activities that characters in fantasy take place in are social encounters. Things like Belgarian uncovering the Murgo plot to kill the Orendish king. Much of the domain play the Bro SR acts like is such an integral part of fantasy is focusing on their PCs being a side character. That general who raises an army and marches somewhere over there off screen with 2 paragraphs of mention while the subject of the story, i.e. the party, is busy elsewhere. But by all means, let's lament that D&D doesn't end up being nothing to no one because it tries to be everything to everyone. And just one other little piece on this, I begin to understand that the Bro SR, while they try to pretend to be these great imaginative, people with all this great ability to create, they can't seem to understand. It's like, how can I do things without rules in the book? How can I do it without exact mechanical ways that dice can solve everything for me? Seriously, you guys are trying to push out Bronsteins and diplomacy and things like that. This is y'all's one of your big things, one of your big pillars aside from one-to-one time, but you can't seem to manage or run things unless you have explicit rules in a book to tell you how to resolve everything. Where's that creativity you claim to have? That was, however, the least of the Bro SR sins for the week. For that, we start with the crown prince of low IQ, B-dubs. He said a lot of stupid shit this week. But he takes the cake for kicking off a mini storm of drama by once again demanding undue credit. That's right. Quote, wonder why Shadowdark doesn't cite Brozer and or Jeffro's How to Win at D&D in its sections about one-to-one time. Seems very tacky, unquote. Well, as I pointed out, that's because the bros didn't invent those things. She also didn't credit Jeffro for using the D20 system. As Kelsey pointed out, more than once, she was looking into AD&D timekeeping systems and the full, and the mechanics of how one-to-one time and everything works a full decade before Jeffro self-published How to Win at D&D. She has acknowledged their role in bringing the conversation about one-to-one to the forefront in the past. But as always, the bros cannot stand the fact that they don't receive worshipful praise anytime one-to-one timekeeping is mentioned, as if TTRPGs began in March of 2023. This led even further as Bro SR reject NW Bro Janeway decided to traffic an unfounded, borderline libelous questioning of whether or not Kelsey trafficked in sexual favors to make Shadowdark a success. As I stated on X, this is why the Bro SR, as a movement, philosophy, and online presence, is an absolute cancer to the world and to the whole of the TTRPG hobby. What's worse is they don't really care about that. I firmly believe that if the entire TTRPG ecosystem, the entire world of TTRPGs, collapsed in on itself and was reduced to just a few hundred guys playing in the corner of game stores across the country, the Bro SR would be very happy with that ending, so long as the game being played was AD&D, first edition, raw, explicitly as they interpret it. And I'm about to lay this out for you. The real reason the Bro SR is a hypocritical abomination. The Bro SR claims to be a men's club, and that's fine. Be a men's club. There's nothing wrong with being an exclusive group. But there is a serious key element missing here: policing. The Bro SR is great at trying to police everyone else. They are fantastic at trying to tell everybody else how they're doing everything wrong and trying to literally gatekeep other people's games. That moron B-dubs even goes out there and says ridiculously stupid off-the-wall troll nonsense, such as there should be some way that they could stop people from playing D&D a way that they don't think is the way it should be. However, men's clubs police themselves. They uphold and enforce certain standards of behavior and decorum, and the Bro SR doesn't do this. Despite all the good people in the Bro SR who just play games and don't engage in this kind of childish bullshit, they never step up and expel the loud-mouthed man-children, making them look like idiots on X. Even worse, they have scraped the bottom of their barrel to anoint their leaders. The more idiotic, the more insulting, and the more outrageous, the more station they get within the group. They aren't a men's club. They're basically a street gang, a chaotic mess that pretends to have structure and rules and accountability, but actually just has a bunch of jackasses wearing the same color t-shirts, acting badly and pretending that they're the victim when it bites them. Well, that's what I've got this week, folks. Tune in for that interview tomorrow. I think there is a lot of interesting conversation and information packed into that hour and 40-minute runtime. And now excuse me while I go out and find my BC headache powder. I'll see you guys next time.